Thanks everyone for being here. Today's panel is going to be focused around e-commerce. We've got 3 awesome companies here, or representatives from 3 companies here. So actually, if you don't mind, maybe we could just start off. You guys give a quick intro on yourself, the company. We got people from all over the world here today, and what you do at the company.
Sure. I'm Andrew. I work at Bonobos. I'm the manager of insights and analytics, and my team. What's up, guys? And my team manages all the analytical requests and ad hoc projects throughout the company, as well as all qualitative consumer research for Bonobos.
Right. Hi, I'm Archimedes. I work at Jet, which is an online retailer. We do things a little bit differently because we dynamically price the products in your cart based on what you add. And then we also deal that order out based on where we have inventory most optimized to get it to you quickly. I run the retail analytics team there, which is focused on our products assortment, the marketplace that we work on, and the different retailers.
Cool. Yeah. So I'm Scott. I lead analytics at Casper, and I guess we are like so fundamentally different than Jet. Whereas versus the millions of products, we have 3. And they have the same price every single day. So it's interesting. I feel like we're gonna have fundamentally different answers for everything, which should make it interesting. But for those of you who don't know Casper, we're a New York-based sleep startup. We started with one perfect mattress about 2.5 years ago. We've since launched mattresses, sheets, pillows, a foundation, and a dog mattress. So we are, since I've joined, we've gone multi-channel, multi-product, and multi-species. So we're going places. Yeah, and have a chat about anything.
Yeah. I moved 6 months ago and I got a Casper mattress. If you guys,
the human mattress.
You're in the mattress. Yeah, exactly. It is awesome. All right, so I thought it'd be good to just start off with some quick context about where your data is sitting right now. If you just real quickly can describe what the data environment looks like, what database you're using.
Sure. So all of our data sits in a Redshift cluster. We take all of our back-end data and ETL it into that cluster, as well as all of our third-party data. We have a data engineering team that does all of this for us. And then they have another process that sits on top of this data to clean it up and put it into an analytics schema that makes it really nice and pretty to do all of our analytics. They use an open source tool called Luigi, which I actually believe was written by Spotify. I don't know if anyone uses it, but they really seem to like it. It's all Python-based. And then we put Looker on top of that, which makes things really easy for us to build out the LookML models within Looker.
Jet has a huge amount of data. The whole production system for Jet is microservices, so each different piece of Jet's infrastructure runs separately. So our pricing data is separate from our fulfillment data, separate from our customer data, which is separate from any of our web data. But take that in times 20 because our systems are very small. So the way that we structure our data is we have sort of 3 main areas: a SQL environment where you have most of these data sets that are small individually, and then we have a Hadoop file store that has a lot of our larger big data stuff, and then we have a Azure data warehouse, which is where we're moving most of our SQL and then some of the Hadoop stuff into that. You'll notice that Jet doesn't use any Amazon products for strategic reasons, and so we've been able to sort of try out some new things that probably hasn't been done by a lot of companies. Our Looker instance sits across all of those, and shared among those 3 databases are a few key marts, if you will, which are data warehouses of shared key data.
Cool. So we run on Redshift like pretty much everybody, but Jet. So we've got, so this is our new, as of 2 weeks ago, setup. So we're only 2.5 years old. So just forgive me if we're very new to this. So we've been on Redshift for about 6 months, but we decided to completely redo everything in August. So currently we're on Redshift, but we have 2 clusters. We have a compute cluster and a storage cluster. The storage cluster is where we kind of put everything. That's where we put kind of our click data from Heap. That's where kind of just everything's in there. But then we've got a process using using a tool called dbt, which was made by Fishtown Analytics. It's an open source tool that essentially lets us write SQL, and then it incrementally updates every 30 minutes. So it will take kind of all the raw data that we dump into one cluster, and then we'll put processed data in another cluster. So that's where we'll have kind of these organized, we opted for wide tables, but there we'll have from Solidus, which is our e-commerce platform. We'll have from Bedpost, which is our in-house supply chain management platform, Salesforce, Heap, and Convertro. We'll all have all that in specific data marts.
Awesome. Yeah. So Andrew, you mentioned moving everything into an analytical schema. Something that we see pretty commonly, especially as people build their first data model. What they'll do is basically it's a pretty simple process with e-commerce because you already have this transactional database that's sitting behind the website, and so something that we've seen pretty often is let me just take a replica of that transactional database and then build my analytical fields and functionality on top of that and abstract away some of the transactional stuff, and which works until it doesn't. So can you talk a little bit, did you guys sort of start off that way, and was there kind of a breaking point? Can you talk a little bit to that?
I can talk about my two, so I worked at ClassPass before I worked at Bonobos, so I can talk about the two kind of very different experiences. When I started at Bonobos 8 months ago, I was lucky enough to come into a very clean data warehouse with this analytical schema with a very clear set of fact and dimension tables for order level sales, item level sales, returns. Everything has very clean primary keys, and the SQL's very clean, which is very helpful. And I'll also say it makes the lookML modeling way easier and much more intuitive for you to go through. At ClassPass, we were much more nascent, or they are much more nascent, and I helped implement Looker there, and we were literally using a replica of our production database that at the time was much more haphazardly put together. And some of my old colleagues from ClassPass are there, they're smiling in the back there. But the lookML modeling became very complex, and I think we were right against the breaking point when I left that we needed to put in another layer, some pre-processing into our data warehouse to make an analytical schema, to make some of the customer data and the things we wanted to analyze easier to do for a business user.
Right. Yeah, and I imagine some of that really gets driven by, when you just have your transactional data, it's fine. But once you start to consolidate data from other sources, I guess that's the challenge. Have you guys started to do that at all?
Yeah, so at Bonobos, we try really diligently to use a global user ID. We use a lot of third-party sources like Segment, Convertro, Salesforce for our desk or our customer service team. And so we try pretty diligently to pipe in this GUID or global user ID into all of those third-party software so we can tie it back to all of our transactional data and our user data, really trying to build that 360 view of the customer that easily can be queried or parsed, picked out in Looker for different business units.
Have either of you guys done the same? So this notion of a global user ID is kind of like the nirvana of where you want to get to, but there's so many intricacies of actually getting there because obviously they are disparate data sources and they don't have any sort of built-in linking to them. So, how have you been able to connect data sources from multiple places?
Yeah, so the interesting thing about Jet is that we were moving so quickly as we grew. There was no discussion of schemas or what data was being kept where. It was simply, we need a call center system, we need a fulfillment system, we need a pricing system. Everyone just moved as fast as possible to build what they could. And then we launched, and then at the end we were left with, okay, well now we have all this, we have some data, and it became actually quite a deal to tie them all together. And so it's sort of quickly after launch, we realized that also the scope of what we were dealing with was big, and the team was growing so quickly that we needed to do a centralized set of data warehouses where you had groupings across all these disparate places. The main thing was that became difficult is that the joining from most of the data sets quickly became millions of rows within months. And that was just, you can't expect every analysis to be joining millions of rows at a time. And so we very quickly moved to this concept of a self-service data mart that had the key pieces from all data sets, and then the ability to tie back to those underlying data sets quickly. We still, though, are on the marketing front, anything around attribution and anything around that happens before the order is placed, we really don't have a great linkage in yet, and that's the big project that we're working on right now.
Yeah, I mean, that's my dream. So yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. That is not only everyone's dream, but that's my dream at Casper. It hasn't been urgent before because we don't have as many repeat customers as these guys do. Historically,
not a lot of people buying 2 beds.
I wish. Yeah, so it's like an 8 to 10 year replacement cycle. So for us, it was kind of a hey, nice to meet you, see you in 8 years, and the proxy we would use for unique user ID was email address, and still do. And that's kind of one of the things that I want to do in the next 6 months. I haven't told our tech team that, but it's this concept of kind of that central user ID is going to be just so fundamental to joining data. I mean, for instance, we do it now. So we'll join our heap on-site data to our orders facts table, and we can do that because you have an order ID. But then if you go any deeper than that, say we want to kind of be linking that to Salesforce and things like that, unless we have that order ID or kind of sometimes an email address, it just gets really challenging. So that's kind of one of our big missions. But I do think one of the big successes in when we recently redid our data warehouse was creating these facts tables that can join, probably not as complex as you guys have, but for us it was a big move to be able to join our e-commerce data to heap data and to be able to look all the way from kind of source and touch point and different behaviors all the way down to what they bought.